all there, so we can start.
Yeah. So we'd like to welcome everybody to this session of Technology Conclave, which is brought to you by Vista. And today we're going to talk about, digital future of fashion. And so I must confess that, till a few years back, I myself was not very much aware of what digital transformation means. And, over the period of time, I realized that digital transformation is actually changing your manual operations to go into digital using the use of digital technology. There's a very interesting research which has now come in, which says that in next 10 years, from 2020 to 2030, there'll be close to $2 trillion, which will be invested by industry, various stakeholders in the value chain, whether it's a manufacturer or a retailer. And this is a massive, massive number. And of course, there are various aspects of business where you could successfully deploy digital technology, whether it is product, whether it is your process, whether it is your domain or culture or customer interface. Very interestingly, the data are also emerging, which shows that today, as a whole, the world is only 18%. There's only 18% penetration of digital technology, and Asia is between 5 to 7%, and India is, of course, still lag behind. But without wasting much time, I would welcome my co-host Anupama, who is joining in from Singapore, and she will give a little sense of what Vista is all about before we go and introduce our keynote speakers. Thank you.
Being a tech founder, I'm myself very passionate about digital transformation. So I'm very happy to join you today, and we are going to bring some focus on some innovative companies and how can we use technology and innovation to leap forward. So before we do that, let me talk a little bit about Vista4. So Vista4 Fashion Foundation is an integrated value creating voice and a platform for the entire value chain, from fiber to fashion. And it's a collective of apparel, fashion, and textile industry professionals. So Vista4 tries to unify the textile and apparel value chain in India so that we can maximize its impact globally. So as part of that, we are actually conducting these series of knowledge sharing webinars with industry experts and also some innovative companies so that we can help organizations as well as individuals on this path to growth and digital transformation. So the key today will be on innovation and digital transformation. So Manish, do you want to welcome in Roger and Guido, and we can start off the session with a couple of keynotes?
Yeah, thank you, Anupama. So I would like to take the opportunity to welcome Roger Chan. Roger Chan is the Executive Director of Cobalt Fashion. He's joining us from Hong Kong. Hello, Roger.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Hi, Manish.
And then I would also like to welcome Guido Skolzman. Guido joins us from Bangkok, from Thailand, and he's the President and CEO of Synergies Worldwide. So I would like to briefly go over a small introduction of Roger and Guido. Roger Chan is an Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of Cobalt Fashion. Cobalt Fashion is the largest specialist in the knitwear industry. With speed and innovation as its core, Cobalt uses the latest in digital technology and work process to constantly refine the knitwear industry. As COO, Roger oversees the business operations at Cobalt and spearheads all digitization projects, including the joint venture Innovation Lab project with Shimasaki and the search engine project with Alibaba Cloud. Roger joined Li & Fung in 1993. Prior to joining the company, he was general manager and regional director of a Hong Kong-based international garment manufacturing group. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you.
Mr. Guido Skolzman held top management positions in global sourcing and supply chain management in Germany, China, Bangladesh, Turkey, Hong Kong, and Thailand for USA and European-based fashion, apparel, and sportswear customers. He is currently the Group President and CEO of Synergies Worldwide Limited, an established global supply chain manager and a sustainable virtual manufacturing group, which has been in the business for over 33 years now, an MBA and postgraduate from MIT. He has been a dynamic leader right from his early days in the industry. At 29, he became the country manager of Eurocentra Limited based in Dhaka. He joined Li & Fung as general manager in Hong Kong in 2003 and went on to grow the company manifold before becoming the EVP for Glover Apparel in LF. He then went on to join Synergy Worldwide as group president and CEO. Welcome, Guido. We welcome you on this session.
From Thailand.
Yeah, currently you are in Thailand. So, okay, so with Roger, I would like to kickstart the session now. Kindly give us a sense of, Cobalt Fashion and how your digital transformation journey has been and how you see the things moving forward.
Thank you, Manish. Well, in fact, digitalization is not a new topic. I think, Manish, if we recall our digitalization journey, we actually started the digital project for Li & Fung back to 2013. Perhaps you yourself could be the speaker to this forum, could be even better than myself. Thank you for inviting me and give me the chance to, meeting my old friends Guido on this forum. So let me start with giving you an overview. I have prepared a. Can you hear me? No problem, right?
Yeah,
okay.
We can hear you well. We can hear you well.
Okay, so let me share with you the presentation that I have prepared. Can you see the screen?
Yes, it's opening well. Yeah, we can see it well, Roger.
Okay, that's great. Cobalt Fashion is a member of the Fung Group. It is not a new operation. We have been started making knitwear since 1973. Of course, knitwear is our passion. We want to be at the forefront of the global knitwear industry, and we want to be the go-to sources for the global retailer and brand. We create and manufacture sweater and knitwear. We design and co-create new product with our customer. We source and develop new yarn and material. Our core component is focusing at speed and innovation. We want to create the digital ecosystem which could redefine the knitwear industry. Well, it is a very big topic, and the landscape is changing. The digital ecosystem is changing on a dynamic manner. So we hope with the digital ecosystem, our industry will be transformed. Cobalt is headquartered in Hong Kong. We have 675 people. We work with 110 factories and 300 customers. Every year we consume 40 million pounds of yarn and shipping 56 million pieces of garment to our customer. Through the four companies, Rossi, Brilliant, Phoenix, and South Ocean, we are reaching out to the global retailer. On this chart, you can see the world map where Cobalt is having the footprint. So let me walk you through what are the landscape, what are the challenges that we are facing today, in particular for the sweater knitwear industry. The e-commerce and social media, emerging has been changing the consuming behavior of the new generation and also extending to much wider age group. The impact to us is that the production lead time and order quantity keep dropping. And the commercial risk, the biggest commercial risk to our retailer customer is the off-trend inventory. If the product is not sell through, then retailers are discounting the leftover merchandise at heavy discount. So how do we tackle these challenges? So on the right-hand side, I'm showing you a conceptual chart. if we can manage to reduce production lead time or reduce order quantity, then in the ideal scenario, if we can turn around inventory 12 times in a year, then we hope that our customer can sell through their product at full price. So that means the quicker the inventory turn, the better chance our retailer can sell their product at full price. So how can we help our customer, deal with these, challenges? First, we hope we can create products which are consumer-centric product for our customer. The product need to be innovative and differentiated. If we can produce at much shorter time, close to the season, and with a small quantity, then the inventory risk will be reduced, and our customer can sell their product at full price. So that is our suggestion to our customer. So how can we achieve this objective? Kobo's core focus, I would say, even at the laser focus level, we look at two areas: digitalization and sustainability. So on the digitalization front, what have we done in the past years? Back to 2017, we worked with Shimasaki, who is our technology partner, established our innovation lab. The name of the lab is CS Innovation Lab. C stands for Kobo and S stands for Shimasaki. Maybe some of our audience may know Shimasaki is one of the leading thread knitting machine manufacturer based in Japan. If you look at this slide on the left-hand side, the gentleman standing in front of the product is Dr. Shima himself. He came to Hong Kong and opened up the CS Innovation Lab in Kobo office. In the lab, we have the most updated cutting-edge knitting facility. The whole garment machine as well as inlay machine are available in our lab. Not only on the hardware side, we also collaborate on the software side, developing the most advanced 3D and virtual design software. And of course, with the hardware, the advanced technology available in our lab, our customer would be able to experience and try new product by punching a few, step on the keyboard, then they would be able to come out with a new product. Behind the digital ecosystem and our digital network is the digital library. What do we have in our library is the yarn, is the stitches, and also silhouette images. We utilize AI to search the design component for our creation. So at the time I prepared this presentation, we have 8,500 yarn captured in our digital library, 11,000 stitches, and 2,700 silhouette. And behind the silhouette, we have the flat pattern available for modification. Now, with this combination of three design elements, we will come out with 252 billion of options. So that would be an amazing, database that we would be able to create a product without any issue. Now, if we look at the traditional product development cycle, well, from product to product, the product development cycle could be different. But looking at our knitwear industry, from inspiration, yarn research to ready for bulk order placement, would take around 50 to 60 days. But if we are using the digitalized virtual product development process from inspiration to young research, young research to ready for bulk order placement would take around 18 days. So we're talking about 30 to 40 days of saving, which is 60 to 70% of the traditional analog way of product development. So of course, the virtual sampling process would not involve manpower, water consumption, and yarn. And product development is really a wasteful process because only 5 to 10% product or creation will be adopted and turned into order. So that means 90 to 95% product that we create would end up in the landfill or at the discount market. Of course, if we want to create product close to the consumer, close to the market, we utilize data analytic technology. Some of the name on the slide you would know, like WGSN, Trend Analytic. Of course, we also develop our in-house capability. We utilize our AI for data scrapping from the social media. We keep track of what are the fashion talking point from social media. Thanks to our data scientists creating this AI robotic engine. Other than the byte and pixel, human creativity cannot be replaced by computing power. Our 80 strong designer and product developer are located in our global design hub in Hong Kong, New York, Manchester, and Tokyo, working closely with our customer, knowing their requirement. And behind these designer creative people is the design communication platform and also the digital library. To nurture the future creation talent, we work closely with Hong Kong Polytechnic Institute, like Polytechnic, Shanker, and also Nottingham University. And we bring the best creative people from this institute to our network and be able to create new product to our customer. So let me show you our lab through this video. This is our CS Innovation Lab. Designs, most of the time, started with our designer doing the market research, looking at magazine. Thanks to Alibaba Cloud, we are deploying their image search engine for searching our digital archive. For example, if we want to look for suitable yarn matching colors that's showing on our design, the engine will recommend the material like what you're seeing on screen. So by applying the yarn on stitch, then we can simulate the highly realistic knit down. So this is the simulation applying the yarn on stitches. So when the knit down is satisfied by the designer, then we'll look for silhouette in our digital library. We can even upload hand sketch design to the system, then the system will recommend a relevant silhouette to the designer.
So that's
Then we could download the pattern, fill the stitches on the pattern, and virtually fit on the avatar. We can also do the fitting and modify the pattern as well for a new silhouette. So when all the visual fitting and virtual stimulation, then we could put the stitches, the knitting data, fill into the pattern. And before we make a physical sample, we will do 2D mapping by applying the stitches on the live model of the customer. If the designer is happy with the virtual sample, then we can move forward to physical sampling.
okay,
The
Roger,
knitting data will be uploaded.
Roger, we'll have about a minute now to yeah.
And, okay, the machines could be located anywhere in the world. Pick up the data, and then we could start knitting.
Brilliant.
Then the product is made. So from design to physical sample will take around 4 days to complete.
Excellent.
Okay, so that's my presentation.
Yeah, so thank you, Roger. I think we'll now go to Guido, and then we can probably take some questions from the panel or from the audience post that. So Guido, please go ahead and give us a sense of your digital transformation journey, and what are some of the new things that you are already engaged in.
Right. So since we are talking about digitalization, Manish, maybe you can guess where I'm just currently calling from.
You could be calling from any part of the world, maybe Bangkok.
Well, basically, it looks like my office, but it's actually a virtual illusion. So I'm sitting actually at home, but I actually put a virtual background, which basically images my office. So that is already how far we are proceeded with digitalization. So we almost can't anymore distinguish, what is virtual and what is real. My story and my journey and our journey is very different to what Roger just presented, but we have a couple of things in common. When actually Roger and his team created Cobalt, which is actually a sweater vertical, they did this, they basically took all the sweater business outside of Li & Fung to focus on a product category and innovate. And we have done at Synergies a similar exercise, but instead of focusing on a product vertical, we are trying to basically to create a new supply chain for direct to consumer brands and e-commerce retailer. And I would like to share you what has been basically the experience on our journey. So it's very different what we have been focusing at. Rather on a product, we have been rather focusing on services along the supply chain. So it's very complementary, but I have to agree with Roger. He said at the end, system and softwares are an important part, but don't forget the people behind it. And I think this is one of the most important takeaways from our journey. And I'm saying this at the beginning, because there's a lot of software and system solutions out there, but still it requires a lot of experience and expertise and people on the ground to implement it and to manage it properly. So with no further ado, I would like to share our presentation. Going through the presentation mode. And as Manish said, I'm the president and group CEO of Synergies Worldwide. And I left Li & Fung in 2015 and I joined Synergies. Synergies is very well positioned in the mass market. We provide price-sensitive apparel and home products for the mass market in the US and in Europe. And we have been so far very well positioned in this segment, but we understood it's not the only segment of growth. Already back in 2016, we could sense there will be, apart from COVID, there will be a transition from brick and mortar retail into e-commerce retailer, e-commerce platforms, but also direct to consumer brands. We saw activities from private equity funds and venture capital into this area. So we thought, how can we participate in this growth opportunity? And we quickly understood that actually with the legacy of Synergies, which is very similar to Li & Fung to a certain extent, although we are smaller, of course, we could sense that the culture and mindset of our people, and we have really great people, maybe would not allow us to step basically into this new kind of supply chain era. So we decided, a little bit similar to what happened to Cobalt, we decided actually to basically set up a startup, which was separate actually from our Synergies worldwide activities. In the course of time, over the last 5 years, basically we have created a holding structure for our company. And in addition to Synergies, which is, as Manish explained, the oldest company in our group, 33 years old, we have actually started 7 to 8 companies, and they are focusing on different verticals. The company I would like to basically share our journey with, which is focusing on digitalization, is actually Oculus. We founded Oculus in 2017, really to develop a new supply chain, being able to cater to direct to consumer brand and e-retailers. And our mission is to be the digital supply chain orchestrator with the technical and operational expertise and experience of a world-class supply chain manager. So what have we been doing? And the first thing we did, we looked really again at the basics, at the supply chain, from consumer trends, design, to inspection, shipment, and this is very much basics. So we know all the physical tasks which actually needs to be fulfilled to be a supply chain manager. I have personally learned this at Li & Fung, and then I have basically further exercised this in Synergies together with our team. But how can we basically transition physical activities into digital activities? So our CEO and the team around him, I'm actually invested in this company. I'm not running it operationally. We have been really looking for the first almost 6, not maybe even more months, at software solution and system solution for each of these supply chain boxes. And it is really surprising what has been started to develop 2017 and even before, like Roger said, even 2013 at Li & Fung, Roger was basically pioneering mobile QC, which was a digital way of basically recording and analyzing inspection. So we have been meeting software companies from Israel, from America. We have been traveling a lot, and we could even see that in each and every box of this supply chain, there are many solution providers. And it even got confusing, because when we thought we found the right one, 3 months later, like Roger said, the landscape is changing so quickly, there was a better technology already out there. But somehow we needed to start, and we started actually with the basics. We started with basically electronic data interface, because we have been we are a startup. So we didn't want to spend too much money into resources, into merchandiser, and we said, let's look at the basics. We don't want to manually input order data anymore. Let's interface with our customer, and let's interface with our suppliers. Very much basics. We had this actually back in 2010 at Li & Fung. And at that time, even we had basically the objective to bring the Li & Fung customers at least to 95% on EDI. But we actually went back to this. So that was our first step. And Anupama, it was actually really to get efficiencies, especially cost efficiencies, you know, because we had limited funds. And then secondly, we looked at inspection, and I remembered the mobile QC, which Roger pioneered. And luckily we found similar software provider, which could actually almost copy what we have been doing before at Li & Fung. So we created efficiencies, but also transparency and analytics for our business. And the third step we did, and this was a major step, and that was actually a big part of Roger's story, we looked at the whole process of design, product development, and sampling. And basically in the physical world, we can see we are looking at 3 individual supply chain boxes. But basically in the digital world, you can actually add it together into one, because it all become digitalized. Even so, we are still doing, to a certain extent, some physical samples, but the whole process from design, product development to sampling can be completely digitalized. And we are using similar software solution Roger has already pointed out in his presentation. This was not primarily for efficiencies, but really to become more agile in our supply chain activities and to really shorten lead times. Because we found that was one of the key needs and aspects of e-commerce retailer, because the paradigm is going to change a lot in the digital world. You know, in the physical world, we designed, we produced, and then we tried to sell. But now it's more like design, and then we sell, and then we produce. So we are changing actually the order, and it has a fundamental impact on how we operate. So the later part, the production, comes after sales, and we have to do that very quickly because the consumer and our clients are waiting for the product. So everything what helps to reduce lead time is of critical importance. And last but not least, we also went back to basics. We looked at production, and in the traditional world, you have to service, you have to provide to your customers weekly work in progress reports. And normally you have a lot of merchandisers doing this, collecting, communicating with the vendor, collecting the data, putting it in an Excel sheet, and then somehow providing it to your customer. So we are looking really, again, at basic solutions. We looked at barcode technology, which is also internationally normed by EAN norm. And we are now trying to talk with our suppliers and our manufacturing partners to install barcode scanners in different parts of the production. So basically that they can capture data during the production process. And because it's a standardized way of capturing data, we can basically upload this data on our internal platform, and we can auto-generate WIP reports. There is no more labor involved. So we have basically, we are going almost here now into the industry 4.0, where basically systems are talking to each other without human interference, but with a technology as simple as barcode. So we have been doing this. And as Roger said, this is basically what I'm showing to you. It's a survey, it's an analysis by McKinsey. You have a lot of saving potentials. Roger was talking about 60% in design and product development in terms of lead time reduction. Here they looked at it slightly different. The grouping is slightly different, but they are, of course, by deploying a digital solution, we have in each and every part of the supply chain significant saving and efficiency potentials. So what I was just explaining to you, what we have been doing at Oculus, we look basically at the supply chain in total, and then at individual software solution and systems. But now we went actually a step further, because we need to find a connectivity. How can we connect properly the customer, the manufacturer, ourselves, and designers into the whole supply chain? Yes, there are a lot of very, very sophisticated and theoretic solutions out there like blockchain, but somehow that was so sophisticated we didn't know how to start. So we tried to develop now, and we understood, we try to understand how people are communicating these days. You know, everybody has a smartphone basically just next to them 24 hours. So we thought that we need to have a solution which can be applied on a smartphone, on a mobile phone. And I had actually a lot of slides to show you, but my colleagues, they asked me not to go into so much details, because as we are speaking, we are developing this solution, and there's a lot of proprietary information which are copyright. So I'm just showing you the basic, very basic principles. So basically it's all smartphone based, and we can easily connect via an app, and then whether it's a buyer, a manufacturer, or designer. So if you press this respective button, you will be actually led through the system and through different pull down windows on what you have to do. Basically, the system is telling you, if you're a buyer, you can upload the photo of a product you want us to develop, or you can basically send us an inquiry. And the way to send us an inquiry is rather easy. If you're a manufacturer, you can upload your own product development. You can participate in price quotation. And we believe very much in collaborative networks. Since we are a startup, we had limited funds. So we don't have so much in-house designer ourselves. We do have, but we work with a network of freelance designers with whom we are also connecting via this app, and they can upload basically their designs and their ideas. And also they can tell us what technology they are using. And so this is currently under development. And we feel that the connectivity is a new and very important aspect, but it needs to be very simple. It needs to be very simple actually to be used. Because a lot of, I would say, great solutions out there are still very complex and very, very difficult to apply in our supply chain, in our industry, for our supply chain. So I have some key takeaway from our journey. And here I'm actually coming back to what Roger said. It needs suitable system and software, no doubt, but it also needs people in the supply chain management with the technical know-how, experience to deliver the results. And we found mindset and culture and skills are key. That's why we decided to do it with a startup and not to transition our Synergies Worldwide, which is well positioned in another market segment to step onto this journey. We see that the role of the traditional merchandiser in our industry is changing dramatically. From managing orders, actually, it will transition to managing processes. From working for a merchandising department, it will be more like the responsibility to grow and entertain partnerships. And from solving daily problem, it's more to find continuous improvement steps and really to transition all our analog steps into digital, which is not only a merchandiser task, but also the task of our management at Oculus. So we learned that it's process and structure first and systems later. And it's really difficult to decide. It's really changing very rapidly. And I would say sometimes an outsourcing solution is better, maybe like having all the system deployed by yourself, because it's changing so rapidly. We have changed 5 times our mind who can provide us with digital design. And there are so many people out there, and it's with technology, it's improving and progressing rapidly. As I mentioned before, due to the basically need of a startup, we have learned to work in networks, and we feel that for the digital world, because of the rapidly changing technology, but also of the skill sets you need to have to operate, network collaboration will be a new way basically to structure and to organize your supply chain collaboration. We need digital connectivity between the supply chain partners. At the moment, we have a lot of individual fantastic systems, but the systems needs to speak the same language in order that we can create a digital connectivity. And our new project at Oculus is aiming at exactly this task. And of course, the entire world, we need to embed this solution into the new landscape, which is remote. Like us now, we are basically joining from all different locations and touchless. You know, like Roger is doing it with Cobalt. We at the moment unable to meet our customers. We can't show the fabric swatch. Sometimes it's difficult to imitate the touch and the feeling, but we should really have no other illusion. It's becoming a more and more touchless world, especially with the travel restriction which have been brought to us recently. And about the paradigm shift, I mentioned it before. I think I think the most significant thing is really changing the order of the 3 words. Now we are basically designing, selling, and then producing. And I think this is actually the most significant paradigm shift, which actually has been introduced by digitalization. That is ending my presentation and our journey.
Yeah, so thank you, Guido. I think we will probably just be able to take 2 questions now in paucity of time. Anupma, you might want to take the question number 3 with either Roger or Guido, and then I have one question coming from the audience, and that I will probably take it with Roger because it's more specific to knitwear.
Right. So thanks, Roger. Thanks, Guido. That was really good. And I think Guido very aptly described what is happening, right? But one question to you is that, you've given a lot of key takeaways and your journey, right, for both of you. I would like to ask that, what is the one thing, if a company or an organization could just focus on one thing right now, because we saw the whole host of processes that you have changed. So what is the one process that you would ask them to kind of digitalize right now for the maximum impact?
It's almost impossible to answer because every aspect of digitalization has an enormous impact. You know, don't start with a too complicated one, because why? You know, looking at actually our industry at the moment, most of the companies are still piloting, even the big ones, because they don't have their structure or the digitalization integrated in the entire company structure. So
Right.
it becomes a silo and completely isolated. A lot of people nowadays, they focus on the digital design process, but it becomes an isolated part, and then at one point of time they stop it. So I
Right.
would rather say look at a simple solution such as barcoding your manufacturing base, and you will have tremendous efficiencies and benefits for all parties involved. But as I said, we have now changed our focus from individual isolated solution to a more connected infrastructure. And I
Right.
think this is the way going forward. But again, focus on simplicity. There are fantastic solutions out there, but they are still very, very complex.
Well,
Yeah, I can't agree more, Guido. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree
Guido,
with what Guido is saying. Yeah.
yes, you agree with that,
Yeah.
Roger?
Yeah, I can't agree more than what Guido is saying. But one thing I want to point out here is that um, there are some confusion to most of the company that whenever they move forward on digitalization, is that they thought that digitalization is a IT project.
Yes.
But unfortunately, IT and digitalization is two different issues. And of course, digitalization will involve using server and the digital network carrying data, across the digital operation. But the key is the manufacturing know-how. Without knowing the creation process and the manufacturing knowledge, and also having the data exchange with your stakeholder, including your supplier, your raw material upstream supplier. I would say we've spent most of the time building API,
Yes.
connecting the dot. That is very key. But if you don't know the manufacturing process, then it's very hard to build API to make sense.
Yeah, and to add to what Roger just said, I think you have to really look at closer networks, not totally open networks. I think the partners with whom you're collaborating need to be trusted and certified. And for this, you need to apply a lot of expertise and experience. You cannot just bring anybody on your platform. It needs to be really a trusted partner.
Yeah. So can I just take 1 minute to recap this? I think listening to both of you, it was really interesting. And I would say it's like a 4C model, right? So there's first comes content, right? So we have to make sure that our patterns and designs are digitalized. And then there's connection, right? There's collaboration. And then we have to make sure there's connectivity, because as we have seen in the last 3-4 months, right, without connectivity, I think many of us would be all over the place. So that's something that has kept the businesses afloat, right? Because they've been able to kind of work on the cloud and with each other in collaboration. So thank you so much for really sharing all the insights from what has been your experience. So Manish, do you want to kind of take
so
one more
before
question?
I wrap up, I think this is the last question. Anyone can take it, and then we got to move on to the session 2. I think this is, what is the single biggest paradigm shift you see in the fashion world post-COVID, and how does it tie up with digitization of fashion?
Yeah.
Any one of you can take it. This is a very important question coming from the audience, so which is very relevant. So I'll leave it to you to decide, or maybe you can partly answer, or whichever way, and then we close the session.
Roger, please start.
Okay. Thank you, Guido. Well, this is a very long question, and it's not easy to give a short answer. I would say the COVID-19 situation accelerate the digitalization journey. It's almost leave us with no option. If you don't do it at in a digital way, what can you do? The answer is no, you can't have other option. Your customer lockdown, your creation, even your raw material supply. I recall back to January this year when China was first hit by the COVID-19, we don't have raw material supply, and your customers chasing for samples. So how can you process your sample without raw material? So the only option to us is to make it in a virtual way, create virtual sample to our customer, and carry on the purchase decision until we come to the point where physical sample is really required. That is what I'm seeing. So, maybe.
I mentioned it like also like the key takeaways, it's becoming more and more a remote and touchless world. And we have to find our answers to this and align our service proposition accordingly. I think there will be, COVID-19 has already disrupted our industry massively. We see the traditional brick and mortar companies basically vanishing. We have one insolvency after the other over the last 2 months. So I think there will be quite a segmentation between off-price and discount companies continuing to be successful and exist. But even those companies, they have a time frame, I believe, for about 5 to 10 years to also do this transition into the digital and e-commerce world. But everything else will shift dramatically into e-commerce and direct to consumer brand. And it will make it more challenging for companies like Roger and ourselves, because there will be a huge fragmentation. There will be a lot of much smaller players, because it is not that easy to become a direct to consumer brand or scaling an e-commerce retailer. The cost of marketing and of acquiring customer is tremendous. So we will be faced with a very fragmented group of customers to which we have to find our solution.
Yeah. Okay. So I think with that note, Guido and Roger, I would like to thank you both for joining us today for session 1, and we hope to stay in touch. And if there are any queries coming in the future through this webinar, I'm sure we'll be able to bring it forward to you and take your views and put it on the website and on the LinkedIn pages. So thank you once again, gentlemen, and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Roger, thanks, Guido.
Thank you, Anupana.
Thank you.
So, okay. Anu, very quickly now, before we go on to the session 2, I think because of the paucity of time, I think the session would not be complete if we probably need to get some sense out of you, because you are a tech entrepreneur yourself. You've been based out of Singapore. So give us a little sense of your journey, your own tech digital journey, and, how you see how your products are evolving. Yeah.
Right. So thanks, Manish. It was very invigorating today for me to listen to both Guido and Roger, because a lot of what they were saying are the feelings we had, and along with my co-founders at Slicer, and that is the reason we actually came up with a platform called Canvas. Right. So Canvas is very easy to use, and it's very easy to roll out. We can roll it out in like 2 or 3 days. And the whole idea of simplicity of use, and what they said is that if there's something very complex, the tools are very complex, and the people cannot really kind of understand how to absorb it. So one of the things that was at the center of how we created Canvas was that in my journey at Levi's, when I was rolling out tech systems, what I found is that it was like a mammoth project, right? Everything would go on for months and months. And we wanted to have a solution quickly, right? And on top of that, what I found as a user, and along with my team members, that we were all the time just crunching data, right? We were struggling for visualization. So back in 2015, when we started Slicer, and we actually put data and images together in Canvas, and it works seamlessly. So you can upload your data, you can upload your images, and then both the things actually come together very, very easily. And when we showed it to brands and retailers, and they were like, wow, like how come nobody's done this before? Right. So I think that is at the core of it all, that sometimes the solutions can be simple, right? If you understand the processes and keep the people in mind. So easier, faster, better, and see beyond like just data and look at, what's happening in the organization. That's what drives us. So, but enough about me and Slicer and Canvas. We'll probably have a deep dive session on it in the future. Why don't we get on to a second part of the session today and invite, Shivang, Ram, and
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we would like to now start the session 2, and would like to invite our 3 speakers in this session. So can we have Nick Wee? Nick is joining from Hong Kong. Nick, you want to? So hello, Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
We've got Ram Sareen. Ram, hello, Ram. I know it's early morning. Ram, I'm sorry I pulled you out of your bed. It's very, very early morning. What is it time now? It's 3:30, 4 a.m. in LA?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Ram.
Good to have you, Ram. And then I have Shivang. Good to have you, Shivang. So Shivang is joining from Bangalore, India. So he's in the same time zone. So welcome all 3 of you for session 2. I'm going to just quickly go over your quick introduction, and then we can start the presentation very quickly. Okay, so Nick is a seasoned and passionate information technology professional who has helped fashion companies in the APAC region to improve the bottom line via IT innovation for the past 2 decades. He is the regional director at Centric, a California-based company specializing in product lifecycle management. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you,
Welcome, Nick.
Manish.
Ram, Ram, for nearly half a century, Ram Sareen has served the garment industry with an extensive and storied history characterized by one word: disruptive. In fact, his mantra has always been change is constant, growth is optional. The philosophy is now ingrained in the DNA of Tucatech, the fashion technology solutions company Sareen founded in 1995. With an inventive spirit, Tucatech is known to simplify practices to meet the ever-changing needs of the apparel industry, credited with successfully bringing digital pattern making to dozens of countries and leading innovation in virtual sample making and cutting room solutions. Tucatech's robust systems are implemented by fashion experts from all the corners of the garment industry. Welcome, Ram.
Yeah, I would like to introduce Shivang, right? Because I've worked with him a little bit.
Yeah. Of course, you worked with Shivang, so you must welcome
Shivang. Shivang Desai. He's an MBA alumnus from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. And he is a serial entrepreneur with 4 startups under his belt. One of the first drone manufacturers in India, a marketing and branding company for medical professionals, which he exited out in USA, and an influencer marketing platform based on the stock markets in Asia. And apart from his management experience, he's a coder, he's a technical artist, he's a 3D modeler, and a fiction author. And today he's going to talk about Big Things, right, which is his 4th startup. So welcome, Shivang, and we look forward to talking to you today.
Thanks a lot, Anupama.
Okay, so I think we will quickly, Nick, start with Centric. So what we're going to do is that we'll quickly play your video so that, it will save you time and you don't have to really talk about it. And then we're going to take a couple of questions which have come in when people were registering. So let's try and keep everything very brief to 15 minutes each. So your time starts now. Nick, Harish, can we play his video, audio video for Centric?
Yeah, thank you.
Centric really helps us to be faster. So in the former days, we needed at least like 16 to 18 weeks. We are right now between 11 and 12 weeks.
O TLM ele é bastante intuitivo.
Ele é muito fácil, quem já tem contato com o desenvolvimento de produto consegue navegar pelas ferramentas com bastante facilidade.
Le premier bénéfice, c'est vraiment de faire disparaître le shadow IT. Donc, ce que le métier pourrait faire de son côté, nous, on vient le contrebalancer en ayant cette fois-ci une information fiable et sécurisée.
We really loved how flexible, agile, hugely configurable the system is.
What we saw in Centric was the ability to grow, the ability to continue to upgrade our processes.
It provides a very user-friendly interface. It makes it very easy for new people to learn the software.
What I like is that it gives us the opportunity to have a clear milestone management where everything comes together.
We also like the fact that it is a cloud-based solution. This means that the platform is accessible anytime, anywhere from the globe without degradation in performance.
Et entre tous les départements, ça facilite vraiment le travail, l'énergie, l'efficacité.
One of the most attractive things that I found within Centric is that it helps create one source of truth for all of our different departments.
As a salesperson, what I use PLM for, which really helps me, is I don't have to wait on the product team to get me information. I like that I can access it whenever I want. In particular, I like to go in and grab images and pricing for my customers.
Es mucho más fácil pues entrar los datos, tener una organización y tener una visión global de lo que es toda la colección.
The deployment was really fast. Only took us 15 weeks from kickoff to go live.
在使用这个软件之后，通过这个1季2季，基本上现在的一个 BOM 的准确率达到100%。以前呢，基本上是在70%到80%，不断的去修改 BOM 的一些资料。
We've gone literally from building a tender in 2 days, the old-fashioned manual way, to a couple of hours in Centric.
It's cutting down on my reporting time. Something that would have taken me 2 hours can now be done in minutes.
We can spend less time on paperwork or computer work, more on designing.
Una delle prime cose che abbiamo notato funzionare meglio è esattamente il fatto di avere un unico repository. Entro nel sistema, cerco l'informazione c'è ed è visibile a tutti nello stesso momento con la stessa precisione.
One benefit that we experience is that we save about 40% time on looking for style.
Best part we like about Centric is its configurability. This creates huge value for us by cutting development cost and reduce speed to market.
È un'azienda sicuramente molto flessibile, con delle competenze molto forti internamente e orientata sicuramente al cliente.
Centric delivered inside of the project timelines on the day we were supposed to go live.
Our relationship with Centric has been fantastic. We were one of the early adopters in the apparel side, and it was a backbone that allowed us to grow and do more things.
If we didn't have Centric, I'm not sure we could actually do business.
It was one of the main things that I used to take on the decision to use Centric made my job so much easier. It's going to make the job so much easier in the future.
I just think Centric's a no-brainer. I've looked at every different PLM in the world. It is unlike any other product lifecycle management I've seen.
Almanya'daki firmalarımız, Türkiye'deki firmalarımız ve çalışanlarımız bir aile gibiyiz. Centric de artık bizim ailemizin içinde bir parçadır.
So you like the music?
So very impressive, Nick, and thank you. So Nick, we're going to quickly start with this point of view. You have now launched these products, and how has been the customer feedback? And what kind of saving do you see in terms of cost, time, and wastage? And how when you go about implementing these technology solutions? So give us a sense on these parameters.
Sure. Let me I was gonna share a screen, but however, something
Harish, we can have probably the screen sharing.
Yeah. Can I actually do that? Well, anyway, so before the screens pops up, basically, you see, PLM, it's sort of like a platform to communicate, linking up supplier, designer, merchandising, costing people information together. So it gives you sort of like a single version of truths. You can be able to reduce the communication time and improve the time to market, like reducing the sample process time and all that. So basically a lot of our customer, actually most of our customer, my customer actually located in this part of the world, they are OEM company. So before they make a decision on this system, they would go for a return of investment study, and the area that they can be able to see help is like saving sampling, saving time and communication, finding sample, finding price and all that. So that is the key area for most of the company. Actually, that
Nick, does it help?
Yeah, that's the screen. Yeah. Okay. So basically, this screen, it's a Gartner's research for a PLM. So these are the number they have actually given us. So it's the area in development of time and action, faster time to market, and be able to standardize the entire product lifecycle process. That's the area. Yeah. So that was before COVID. Every company come to us and then they want to do this ROI, okay, before they make the decision. But after COVID, as in the earlier session, you mentioned that COVID is in fact accelerate everything. It's a catalyst. So basically they need a platform. So agile to the market, agile to the customer is a key thing, because they change the production a lot of time. Like back then they make jeans. Now a lot of company, they produce PPE or mask. So I see there are a lot of factory basically over capacity. Their factory, that's only 20% of capacity. So for now, people see that PLM, it's a very important tool to be able to collaborate and link up to their customer. Yeah, so that's the benefits.
Stop the share.
You have a second slide to this, Nick. Do you want to go to the second slide?
Second slide would be another
part. So we're going to go to the second point, which is that, Anu, you want to talk about the second question, or I will go ahead and take it?
No, let me ask. Actually, what I wanted to ask Nick was that, like you said, after COVID, things are changing, right? So there's obviously a rapid change in the technology roadmap that, all software companies have taken on. So is there something that you would like to share with us about the future? Like, what is it that you're planning, or something that you can share with us, which is probably not very proprietary and confidential?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So basically, like, technology change I would say I've been in the industry for like some 25 years. I see major change of different, like, demand of different technologies. Every it's their cycles. Like back then, I remember it was CAD/CAM time, and then people about 5 or 6 years later, people going into ERP, MES system, and then 3D, and now PLM. So if you can please turn on that.
Okay.
Yeah, slides, please. So again, change is, yes, that's right. Okay. Change is inevitable, especially now, where I see a lot more technology actually integrate and link up together. I see a lot of actually my customer, they have actually factories. So it's a model for a factory where they have like AI tool that try to understand what the customer looking at, like what Roger mentioned earlier. You go to different social media, try to understand what people are talking about, and using that AI information, understand the attributes and linking up to turning their ideas to their product. So it gives you, and of course it link up to a lot of like product data information that's very critical, important. Like again, it's going back to what Roger's presentation, and then develop a co-create platform where they develop V3D or 2D samples be able to show and rapidly develop a product spec and linking up to manufacturer. And some manufacturer trading company, they outsource and linking up to doing e-commerce. Actually, a lot of factory they are, rather than produce for their customer, they also develop their line to sell their own product in another channel, like Amazon or Taobao or whatever, this kind of channel. So I see that again, like after COVID, it's a big change where the product, I would say the product range will be different. I can see that a lot of like fast fashion company now, now it's not as active anymore. People turn into slow fashion or yoga wear, homeware, and a lot of factory is very rapidly trying to adopt to that change. So this is what's going on. So linking up with all these technology is actually critically important for them to be able to adopt to market fast.
I think that's a very comprehensive diagram. And I think what you hit the nail right on the head is that there are different components, and there's a season for everything. And I think that also shows why we have invited yourself, Ram, and Shivang today. So we are actually looking at a certain segment of the go-to-market process. So Manish, you had a question that you wanted to ask Nick as well?
Yeah, no, so, basically what I think Nick already answered what he's next working on, and I think what he could little bit talk about, I think that he's already addressed it. And maybe we'll come back to Nick later once we have some questions coming in from audience. And then I'd like to now go to Ram. Ram, would you
Thank
like
you,
to...
Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Nick.
hang on, we'll come back to you. Ram, would you like to keep your speaker? Would you on your speaker? Yeah. Your mic is off, can't hear you.
I just want to ask one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Nick. Nick and I, we go back a long time.
Yeah.
In the supply chain.
Great to see you again.
Yeah. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've followed automotive industry as a benchmarking all my life. PLM is a buzzword in the garment industry, product lifecycle management.
Yeah.
Look at the diagram that you just showed, how comprehensive and how complicated the total supply chain is. And when you get to the information, I don't even know why we call it PLM. It should be called SCM, the way the automotive industry works. Okay. Supply chain management. And within each sector, there is a PLM, process lifecycle management, not product lifecycle management. Because our product is so comprehensive, so complicated. The supply chain starts from maybe growing the sheep or cotton all the way. The customer is going to use it, or when it goes back into the landfill. That is the process lifecycle management. There's a lot of things to be discussed in the area. I think what we need to focus on what gives us instant relief.
Yeah.
Instant relief.
Yeah. So I think no, that's a good point, Ram. Actually, Centric is headquartered in also California, where
my fellow Californians. So
I think he's a fellow Californian. You guys need to catch up on a cup of coffee and sort this out. And
we work with every PLM company.
You got to make life easier. So anyway, coming very quickly, Ram, we're going to quickly play the TUCA video, and then we have a couple of questions for you. So Harish, let's play the TUCA video, please.
I've been now 50 years in the garment industry.
You look very handsome. I must say that. Very handsome.
I am a mechanical engineer, and I've always benchmarked what automotive industry does. Sometimes you look at the problem head on and say, all right, is there an easier way to solve this problem? In automotives, you have what we call car crash testing. You need to verify and make sure the car is safe. So you have certain amount of sensors and so on, seat belts, and see the impact when it crashes. In apparel, it is exactly the same. I have to develop a garment, make the whole garment, put it on a person to find out if the garment is fitting properly. There are so many actions that we take. In the apparel, when I do this, is it fine in fitting? When I raise my arms, does it go out? All these things, the only way we're going to do it is make a product, put it on a person, have the person go through these activities, and then go back and make a correction to come back again. That's a long process, and it's very expensive. So we wanted to digitalize that. In order to do that, we had to get the body of the person who's going to be doing it in exactly the same shape. So we scan the body, we create the model, the fit model, and then we make the garment by creating these paper patterns into digital cloth and to sew it all together. And I very strongly believe that if a man can do it, man can teach the computers to do it. And we're the first one in the world to make a totally automatic pattern making system. I took the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, gave them the measurements, they put these measurements, press the button, and the jeans were made. It's totally blown away. 25 years ago, my objective was to take these manual paper pattern makers and put them on the computer. But the challenge is when you take a 50-year or a 60-year-old person who has never touched a computer, who is an artisan, who can do things with their hands, and you tell them you're going to interface with computer, first fear comes in. But that was a challenge. So I was the first one to bring digital pattern making in so many countries by holding hands and making it simple, easy. Creating technology is not a challenge. Knowing what to create, what the challenge is, writing a solution for that, that requires first the understanding of the problem. So many couture, so many companies, so many good designers did a lot of handwork, no different than in the old days. We made the movies like that. Today we have post-production, digital rendering of the movies. If you look at movies, some of them 60, 70% is just computer graphics. So it takes away a lot of pain, and it actually brings much better perspective at a lower time, lower cost to make an amazing presentation. So technology plays a major role, whether I'm making the pattern by hand and cutting, or I make it by computers. The only difference is the computers remember what were the shapes. Remember, in fashion, you're trying to build a product which has to fit a three-dimensional body, but you're starting with flat, whether it's paper or fabrics. Now, how to put it all together, it is a science. It really is a technology. And if you go further, all these bodies are different shapes, different measurements, different sizes. That's why we have different size ranges. We don't make individual garments. We just make one garment, we call the sample size, and then we apply the size of grading to a small, to extra small, to medium, to large, and so on. Clothing industry is one of the largest polluters in the world, whether it is making the yarn or the fabric or making the denim and putting all the washes. We do a lot of nonsense in this industry. We don't have to. In the name of progress or fast fashion or quick deliveries and so on, we shortcut. 85% of all samples made go in the garbage. Landfills. 2019, we produced more than 120 billion garments for 7 billion people on the planet. More than 25 billion garments were sent to landfills. COVID has created an opportunity for people to rethink. The consumer today, very conscious about who made my garments, how was it made, what is the content of that? And I have a lot of hope from younger people. I think they are the ones who are taking this step to save the planet. I created engines with people who can actually go out and get a 3D garment for $5, get a patent for that for $5 if they want to sell it at home. Where I can take a person who's got a desire to become a designer but doesn't have the capital to invest, either to buy a patent maker or a sample sewer or have a factory to do some preparation to show that physical line of their product, simplified that by creating templates which already fit perfectly on certain people, their measurements and so on. Go in, do your creative work. From this, working on that silhouette are creating 500 different iterations. That is what I call igniting the creativity. I call the visualizer. I don't have to make the entire product to see how that's going to look. I can see it in real scale in 3D. And if I like it, then I make it. So we call that reversing the thinking process. At my age, it doesn't matter if any more money comes into my bank account or not, but it does matter if the knowledge gets passed on. And I tell all the young people that you can't live long enough to make your own mistakes. So I collected an amazing set of people who are really experts, knowledgeable in their own fields, whether it's retail or design or whatever the area may be. And we started a 1-hour session of taking one subject, a conversation between the two experts, and take whatever the challenges at that time are. Thank you. You're muted. You're muted.
Quickly, yeah, I'm going to just quickly talk about, ask you one question. You know, how does this help in speeding up in design development and range creation?
First of all, you have to stop thinking the way you have been working. Why do you have to follow the workflow, the steps? What is it that you're trying to show? A line, a product. So we created, and you can have the same thing in your own libraries when you drill it down, 3D garments library. No different than old way of thinking of having blocks. Now you have 3D garment blocks. And from that t-shirt, from that shirt, from that blouse, from that dress, I can create any which way in the digital space, whether it's a different fabric that I want to show or a different print or different colorways. It's just a digital picture. My objective is to show this is my new creation. And it'll take me a day to come up with the entire line. I present that to you. If you like it or whatever you choose, wherever you want me to now customize, like we showed, I want to make it 4 inches longer here, make it 10 inches longer here. Now I will do the change. But why do I have to do all of that physical development to come up to just to show you what my line is going to be? There are so many ways to think reverse way. First, you need to get at what is your objective and then think backwards. How do I get there? You have to stop thinking how I did it. That was yesterday. How do I do it today? There are thousands and thousands and thousands of startup companies. Yes, 80% of them will go under, will not make it. But you know the 20%, the number of those companies is so large that they will keep on nibbling and nibbling and nibbling, becomes bites and then chunks. If you don't believe it, ask the retailers in America. In 2018, over $1 billion of retail dollars were taken away by these startup companies. 2012, we were the first ones in the world to come up with demand manufacturing. Your previous session, they talked about design, sell, and then make. We did that in 2012. I have more than 200 companies doing it today. We have more than 62 centers around the world who are micro factories where they can produce on demand and deliver within 24 hours. We've got factories set up here with what we call the finishing, which we have been doing it for the last 7 years for two of the largest Sri Lankan companies, and I'm not going to mention the names. They make the blank products, blank t-shirts, blank leggings, and they store that at the facilities here in California at one of our micro factories, and the customer pulls it out. I want 300 of this, 500 of this, 200 of this. You know what? We add value and we deliver. It's cheaper than sending it by air freight. This is called proactive thinking. COVID is forcing people to now react, but the proactive people have been doing this. So this is not something that you are experimenting. You know, Manish, the problem is most of the people in the management are what I call the co-pilots. They are not the captains, but they don't have the guts to tell the captain. Can you imagine sitting in a cockpit and when you see that we are going to crash and many lives depend on it, and if you don't have the guts to tell the captain to change the course or take the action, then you shouldn't be in that position. You should have been fired a long time ago. And for those captains who are waiting to be the boss, and if I tell you, you do it, they have no right to be a boss because they must start asking, what do you propose? If you don't have the guts to ask your employees, your team members for their suggestions, then you are not going to survive in this business.
Yeah.
That's my take on this business.
Thank you, Ram. Yeah, so Anu, you would like to start with Shivang? Yeah.
No, I just want to thank Ram for his point of view first. And I think they are all great points. And I think one of the reasons Vista4 was founded, and we are doing these sessions is exactly that, to spread the knowledge. And, you know, I think businesses already know, like you said, they already know what they have to do. But sometimes there are issues of why they cannot, you know, take the proactive steps. So we are hoping that these sharings will actually, you know, push at least some of the companies to kind of, you know, go around those obstacles and adopt the new to do digital transformation.
Ignite the passion, Ram, that you bring on table.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Hey, boss, the charity begins at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
I digitalize myself by creating that video because I'm giving so many presentations at so many odd hours. Now they just run my videos and send me questions. That is creating efficiency within my own time zone.
Right.
Wonderful.
Okay, great, wonderful. Okay, so yeah, let's thank you, Ram, and let's move to Shivang and Big Things. So Shivang, is he on? Can you unmute yourself?
I am here, Anu.
Great, great to see you. Okay, so Shivang, very happy to have you with us here on this session today. And you know, before we ask you some questions, we would like to share your video. So maybe Harish, if you can play Shivang's video, right? That'll be great.
Hi, we are Big Things, and we specialize in artificial intelligence for the fashion and retail industry, particularly around body sizing, clothing, and virtual avatars for visualization. E-commerce is plagued with clothing returns, where many customers order multiple sizes and return all that don't fit or don't look good. Luxury fashion, on the other hand, is difficult to scale online as it depends on physical stores and in-store interactions for sales. The tools that exist today are body size charts, which every online retailer displays, and recommendation engines, which ask one to put in their height and weight, and they try to guess the person's size. Both of these approaches are quite inaccurate. This results in a huge impact, monetarily and environmentally. US retailers alone lost $309 billion due to returns last year. 84% of these returns are destroyed through landfilling or incineration. The 3D body scan needs only 2 smartphone photos, one from the front and one from the side. The software instantly calculates over 44 precise body measurements, which can be used for tailor-made clothing and to find out your size in any brand, anywhere in the world. To showcase our AI-based digital clothing recreation from real clothes, we chose 3 pieces in particular. One was this, and you can see the 3D version now. One was this orange-yellow kurta, and the third one was one that we particularly liked and decided to use to simulate on a real avatar of our co-founder, Chandralekha. The process is simple. One stands in front of one's mobile or screen and positions ourselves to the outline provided. This instantly determines body measurements, and the facial features instantly generate an avatar that has your looks and your measurements. This avatar also has motion tracking, so you instantly see yourself wearing any piece that you want. BigThings also offers virtual showrooms, which are completely navigable, use different kinds of assets in 2D or 3D, and you can move around, navigate through the store, interact with different objects, find out more about them just by clicking on them, and add them to your cart. This has the potential to increase conversions by 250%. These virtual showrooms can be as sick or as extravagant as you like and can be easily simulated within the digital environment. We have garnered a lot of awards and media attention, notably the world's biggest AI award for the best use of AI in fashion, and others from Amazon and even China. We're BigThings, and we can be reached at info@bigthings.com.
Wonderful.
Very nice. So, Shivang, that was a nice video that you made for us so that we could kind of encapsulate everything that you're doing into like a small bite-sized thing, but, you know, nothing like the real thing. So I would like to ask you, you know, you've been a serial entrepreneur. So what got you started onto BigThings? What was the dream? What was the vision? Tell us about it.
So BigThings actually started out small, but before I go there, I just want to say it's such an honor to be here firstly with Ram and Nick as stalwarts of the fashion industry who've been doing this since way before it was the need of the hour. Now, for BigThings, it really came about through a personal experience where my co-founder and we both realized that we were doing something really stupid. We were buying multiple sizes of clothing and actually returning the ones that didn't fit. And we needed to do this because clothing has no standardization. Every brand basically decides their own size and they manufacture to that size. And a large doesn't mean a large in every brand fits me. I might need to go a medium in some brands. I need to go an XL in some brands. And it just kind of struck both of us that there's got to be a better way around this. And having a background in technology, I decided to put technology to work to try and solve this problem. And that's how big things started in 2017. We brought AI into the products as we went along from 2017 to 2020. And today we're primarily an AI company, which is focused on fashion and retail.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Very nice to hear that. Manish, you were saying something you wanted to ask him?
Yeah. So I want to put it on record, Shivang, that from the time that I've got to know you and your company, I'm super impressed that you are coming from the Indian Bay Area, which is the Bangalore, and it's an Indian tech company creating product and which is going global. And I think probably the video did not highlight the amount of work that you are doing on the international fashion show, that your recent collaborations in Milan and London and New York. So give a little sense of what these collaborations that you are doing, how you're creating the avatars and, the whole thing. So give a sense of that, Shivang.
Absolutely. So a great lead into that was, let me actually just share my screen and I'll give you a taste of what a fashion show actually looks like. So you probably have my screen at this point.
Yes, we can see it.
And the way that we got into this is that we were approached by Fashionovation in New York, who saw a few of our demo videos, and they asked us to put on a virtual fashion show for them using our technology, which was in virtual avatars and body scanning, digital clothing, and so on. So we were actually the first in the world to do a virtual fashion show in the format that we were using, which had virtual avatars of real models from a modeling agency in Atlanta in the US. And it used clothing from 10 sustainable designers around the world and showcased this at the New York Fashion Week in June. We're doing more shows at the New York Fashion Week in September and others around the world. And this is a little sneak a preview of the one that we already did.
From out of the start, our love is easy. Together we breathe. You're my sweetest thrill. Wide awake and I feel like I'm breathing.
So hope you enjoyed a little bit of that. That was our first time doing a virtual fashion show. We walked away with a lot of lessons learned. As Ram was saying, you can't make every mistake yourself, but there we seem to actually do that. So we are definitely correcting for that. But on the international scene, coming to your question, Manish, is that we've been working with brands across Europe. We were part of a program supported by the Prada Group along with Accenture and PwC in Milan. And that's how we ended up taking our products on a very strong level to Europe. And now in the US, with the backing of brands like Fashionovation and several other major big box retailers who we are currently working with. So on the international fashion scene, we've actually seen something different. We've seen a faster adoption of our products than we've seen in India. India is now coming to the fore, where after COVID, because suddenly there's been a big wake-up call as to the technology and being able to use it. But that's how we got on the international scene, because we realized that just a few months ago, pre-COVID, India, in a major way, was just not ready to embrace products like these, which has changed dramatically since.
Great. And that's a good insight, really, Shivang, because like I said, being a tech founder, we have also seen like how people were struggling with images. Of course, now 4 or 5 years later, it's a totally different story. And a lot of brands and companies have got into digitalization. And, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I know you're very passionate about this, is that digitalization really aids sustainability. In our industry, we are very known for creating a lot of landfills, and you mentioned that in your video. Would you like to say a couple of lines about that before we go into a Q&A?
So this actually has kind of been addressed by both the people speaking before me. So I don't have so much more to add to that. Digitalization, of course, brings a huge is a huge aid to sustainability, because yes, the younger generation is adopting it. So digital strategies which resonate with younger shoppers and younger buyers are automatically being adopted. Now, new forms of technology which enable this digitalization, which enable virtual clothing, virtual avatars, virtual shopping, they resonate throughout the supply chain, because there are various pieces of data that come along with it, not just at the time of sale, but also from the time of design. So if you incorporate human body data over different regions and different geographies, it enables brands to design better, design the sizes better that will fit their customers better. It enables brands to know how many of which size to manufacture, how to customize their products after they have already been made, and therefore you get to the holy grail of fashion, which is mass customization of clothing. And all of these while reducing a tremendous amount of wastage, preventing clothing going into discount stores and then eventually landfills and so on, and overall making a huge sustainable impact on the entire value chain of the fashion industry.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and doing this. And I look forward to more and more companies, adopting your solution, because I think it's really cool. Manish,
Yeah.
did you want to ask him something else?
Yeah, so I think we are kind of more or less coming close to the end of session 2. And I have a question, and which can be picked up by either by Ram, Nick, or Shivang, or you can probably.
Are we on the panel? Can we see all the panelists?
Yeah, Harish, can we put everybody together? I think it will be good to have everybody together on the screen.
Right. Okay.
Harish? Yeah. So, okay, probably he will.
I'm doing so.
Yeah, no problem. So I think I recently read about something called digitization index, that, there's a potential of digitization, and you start to measure. And, now the countries are being measured on the basis of digitization index, because we have seen so many different indexes which have been used. Of course, stock market is something that we are very, very familiar. But I think that's the kind of focus and the investment which I said at the start of this whole seminar, that that $2 trillion kind of investment which will go into the whole digitization for next 10 years, the next decade. So what's your sense on the digitization index? I mean, do you guys have any insights that you would like to share with our viewers, and what countries are at this stage, and which is actually talking about the digitization journey from a macro sort of perspective,
If I can answer that, we've been working on the mass customization for a little over a decade. I've done many projects with Levi's, with HD Lee, with Nordstrom's, with body scanning, custom clothing, size prediction, on quite a few of the aspects. And there is no hard and straightforward answer to that. Because as you said, there are people with the different body shapes, different age groups, different ethnicities, and different economics factors. The Walmart customer is not going to go to Nordstrom, and vice versa. So there are all these factors play a role as far as defining what sizing and the measurement should be. Body scanning is impossible to body scan everybody. So you've got to come up with some kind of a median to find. But what has been working, and this is not just Amazon, but a lot of retailers have been working on this one, is cross-checking. A product is made, a customer has bought this product, we know kind of prediction what their body is, which shape it is. As a matter of fact, my son runs another company of ours, Staiku, where we have more than 1 million body scans, and we basically get that from the fitness industry, from all the gyms and so on. But the idea behind this thing was to gather the shapes. So if I ask Anupama, tell me which size of which brand is your favorite clothing in your closet. Now, in cross references, I also have that brand being worn by somebody else in that size. If I have all that data, it's easier for me to predict what is her body shape and measurements. And then I can suggest to her, for this brand, this size will fit you. We put that in 2014 on Shopify for $99, the prediction engine, okay? My son, who was a NASA physicist, did this a long time ago. Amazon has been doing it. Nordstrom has been doing it. In production, where the problem comes in, it's not just the measurements or what happens with development of the products. If you didn't know who your customer is, what their shapes are, we work very hard in creating a sample size. Then we apply grade rules. But the bodies don't grow the same proportion the way our grade rules do. And that's the reason why, for those who are in the manufacturing, will tell you, when you start looking at the scale, you say 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. What is that 3? That's your sample size. What is 2 and 2? Which is the sweet zone, the little zone, which is up and down of the sample size. That sells okay. But the ones which are the extreme left and right size, they are somebody else's fit models or somebody else's customers, or they end up on the clearance racks. So basically, if you need to really go and reduce the waste, first thing you need to address is your grade rules. Individual sizing.
But Ram, I think what was Manish, maybe you need to rephrase the question, right? And are you on mute? You're on mute.
I think Ram has obviously talked about mass customization, which is probably a relevant point, because you'll have to look at some point of time the cost involved with all your products. I think that's one aspect that we probably could not touch so much because of the paucity of time, is that cost per unit. If somebody is a subscriber, how does one take the service of these products? There's one thing which you buy a license, which is lock, stock, barrel. But I know for sure that, you have run some schemes now, which are coming on a daily basis or on a module basis. And I think Shivang is also, so that's more probably from the direction of mass customization. But my question was more probably in terms of digitization index. But I think it's a bit subjective, because a digitization index is not only related to fashion, it covers manufacturing, it covers industries, and it covers a wide spectrum of all the services and sectors. Anyway, I think I just like to go to Guido. Guido, since you are here, would you like to address any question to any of these product tech companies? And did you get some answers to your initial thought process in terms of solution?
Unmute.
Unmute.
You have to unmute yourself, Guido.
I'll unmute him.
Yeah. Yes.
Now it worked because it was jumping back. No, I think these are all very great, innovative service offers. I think for this group and for maybe consecutive session, I think this is fantastic to create now this ecosystem, where we have service provider invited, and we talk really about what the software is all about, and we create an ecosystem because we need to follow this path. Otherwise, we will be everybody out of business, because it is so disruptive. And I think this is a great initiative, what you have been basically introduced today. And of course, like Ram said, there are so many solutions already existing for many, many years, but I think we need to create a new awareness because the time is for many, many retailers, but also for manufacturers and supply chain orchestrators is running out. We need to adopt it now.
Thanks, thank you.
Absolutely.
No, I
I
just
want
want to
to
have
assure-
Ram. I think we have a bit of paucity of time. I'll come back to you if we have time. But I want to have one last views from Nick and from Shivang. You know what? How do they see this whole thing, and if they have any thought process that should be taken forward? And then maybe Ram, if we have time, will come, because we have to stop at. I think we have another 9 minutes. So we got to
Yes.
manage in those 9 minutes. Nick, very quick word from you, Shivang, and then we probably Ram, and then we wrap up. Yeah, thank you.
I think what I see is that a lot of technologies around the entire supply chain, from development, 3D, AI, and all that. And there is e-commerce going on. And especially right now, I face a lot of customer, they talk about, oh, they can't visit, then e-commerce is inevitable. So I can see that this e-commerce will eventually be able to link up with a lot of different services. And it's going to be a very sticky platform where real business is going to perform there with, 3D, the life cycle management and planning, distribution, sales, catalog, trade finance, and all that. I believe this is the way forward. Yeah, many to many.
Shivang.
Thanks a lot, Nick. And just to build on that, I think that is definitely the way forward. But another one that we are seeing and witnessing a lot of that is happening in the industry is digital twins. A whole digital twin industry is emerging very, very strongly, and tied in with blockchain and several different industries and overlaps between not just retail and fashion, but also manufacturing, also fitness and healthcare, gaming as well. There's so many overlaps between different industries that are coming in. And these are the new technologies that we should really be exploring to push the boundaries of what's coming tomorrow. We already know what's happening with the world today and what our technology is doing for it. But in about the next 3 years or the next 5 years, what can we do to push it forward from a sustainability standpoint, from an ease of use standpoint, and from a pain point standpoint?
Thanks, Shivang. Manish, I think there's one question. There's a question from Vidyotama. How is digitization expected to affect the unorganized sector of the supply chain? So would one of you like to take that? Because there are a lot of
Ram, that should be your closing, I think, remark with this, because this is very
right.
close.
So how does the unorganized sector?
First thing is go after the low-hanging fruit. We all talk about we want to produce what we sell.
Right.
Now it's already happening. One of our clients who produces 10 million bottoms a month took an initiative about 2 years ago to work with 2 major retailers making bottoms. So in order to do this, you have to kind of stay focused, product, process, so that you can actually work your systems. In bottoms, men's pants, traditionally they've been sold in 2-inch grade, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38. And then you have 2 or 3 inseams. That's about it. Now, if you look at just that product, every one of us are not very happy because either we are 1 inch up and down or we have to have the adjustment done, right? But that is still a product. So this company waits at the midnight, whatever has been sold by size, except the retailer is now offering 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34. You choose. Whatever inseam, 28, 29, 30, up to 36. So it's really a custom clothing, but it's not a custom clothing charge. When at the end of the day, I get the order, whatever it is, 938 garments I've sold, but I may have sold in 127 SKUs. That's okay. Don't get that in your way of thinking because you're making pants.
So, okay, Ram, I got to stop you now. I have a hard stop now. So I just wanted to thank all the speakers today who joined in. Anupama,
We could all get cut off, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think we'll probably take this forward, Guido. I think the idea was to bring the stakeholders together and, you know, as you rightly said, create an ecosystem. And we do, and really, really sincerely thanking everybody for your time and patience and, you know, replying to all the messages to get us this through. And we look forward to meeting you and interacting with you soon in the future. And one more thing, you know, this whole session is being recorded. It will be live on the YouTube channel of Vista. So, you know, your company people, the other stakeholders, the other partners in the value chain can have an access to that. And we'll share the link to you so that you can share with everybody. So thank you once again, everybody, and have a great evening. Anupama.
Yeah. Thanks, Ram. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Shivang. Thanks, Guido. Thanks, Roger. I think he had to leave. And thanks, Manish. I just want to say that I think this session of 2 hours, I think is really going to help a lot of people think about the entire chain in their supply chain and think like, you know, what are the places that they need to focus on. And I think we touched upon a lot of topics thanks to all 5 of you. And once again,
you want to talk about the next upcoming session.
I will. And thank you once again. And I would just like to thank the audience and all the people behind the scenes who helped us put this together. And we are going to have another session on 5th of September at 5 p.m. with no other than our celebrity teacher, Dr. Dalio Koshi. Over the COVID times, he actually put together his daily diary and he has published that book, which is As Not By Design, right? So he talks about his lockdown journey and something that none of us planned for, right? Where the recipe, as he says, is recipe was there, but the end dish was a surprise, right? And I think it still is. And let's look forward to connecting, you know, like Guido said, connection is everything, and we need to collaborate together. So thank you so much, and we'll all see you soon, individually and on the session.
So thank you, everybody. Stay safe and take care and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you.
Signing off now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.